me, I hope you don't mind. It's like my teenage years.
We've got 4 hours for this Q&A, so this could be a really fun one.
Thank you for sticking around. Wow. Did you have a good time? Love it.
Hell of a thing. Now, after the intro, as we were leaving, Lee, you said to me, I want to stick around and see the scalping. Now, the last time the director said that to me was Paul King before Paddington 2. But when you were writing this, were you thinking about audience reactions like that?
I knew I needed big moments. I knew I definitely needed things that people could have fun with. So one of my favourite things, I got to stick around for a little bit. I've seen the movie a lot recently, so full disclosure, I've had 3 double vodkas while I've watched the movie, but I'm Irish, so it's fine. And my blood is acting normally.
It's like 1 double vodka.
Yeah. Your measures suck over here. But I knew we needed those moments. You know, I knew I needed things for people to like grip onto and have fun with. It's kind of a weird movie from my point of view because I know it's really dark, but I also think there's entertainment in that darkness and the kind of madness. And I've watched it with an audience maybe 6 times at this point, and once the scalping happens and people go, then I kind of feel like I'm with my friends. So thanks, friends.
What are the other big moments for you, like you were lacing into the script?
My favourite part of the movie is that little run from the little kitchen fight scene between Beth and Bridget through to Stephanie having her payoff. I just like that 4 or 5 minutes of the film. I feel comfortable with that because it was extremely close to my vision. Because when you make a movie, you have your thoughts, you have your ideas, and you're fighting to wrangle all of the challenges of movie making as close as you possibly can to the vision. But that little 5-minute run in the movie was definitely straight out of my imagination.
And how difficult is it to marshal things like that? Those periods where everything is going to hell in the movie. You know, when Bridget's coming back, she comes back to life and she's attacking, Cassie, and she's attacking Danny. Meanwhile, you have Ellie creeping in through the ceiling and attacking Beth. How do you marshal that and make it work?
It's quite a simplistic answer. It is in the edit at that point because the screenplay was very detailed for this movie, and when you break it down into a schedule, it's kind of impossible, and then you're fighting to make the best of every moment that you possibly can. And then it's like, my analogy always with filmmaking is that you write a shopping list. I'm having an amazing dinner party for all my amazing friends, and then you go to the shop and you realise you've got a tenner and you're also in Lidl. And then you try and buy the best things you can and put together some sort of pasta. And that's kind of how it works. It's like you do your best on set and then you bring it back. And I think, the making of filmmakers is often in the edit suite. It sounds like a cliche, but it is the ultimate rewrite in terms of what you have and what you've gathered and how you use that material.
So when you first sat down to really properly write this, did you have a list of do's and don'ts of Evil Dead?
Do not make it boring. Like, if anyone here didn't like the movie, I bet you also were not bored. But don't make it boring. Like, the spirit of Evil Dead movies for me is the entertainment factor and the energy before the horror. The horror was obvious to me, like it had to be. I could not make an Evil Dead movie without horror, without gore, without those kind of crazy madcap moments that people would have fun with, or cheer at or squirm because of what they see. But I just needed energy and entertainment. That was what it was all about making these movies.
So where did this start?
This movie, those movies,
this one in particular. Where did this start for you
then? We've had a little chat about this before. It started with a meeting with Sam Raimi having sushi. I don't like raw fish, and the only cooked thing they had was the eel. The fuck wants to eat eel? And also, I'm not eating my name backwards. Like, that's a slow burn one.
It's 3 letters, it's taking a while.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about Evil Dead, we talked about everything else, because Sam is a producer, right? Like, so Sam has a million things going on. I'm a writer-director, so I've got 2 things going on. So I talked for 10 minutes, he talked for 50 minutes, and then towards the end of it, I just said, hey, what's up with Evil Dead? Do you want to do anything with that? What's your plans? As a fan, he was like, we totally do. Why are you interested? And I was like, well, I'm a massive fan. And he didn't necessarily see that because he'd seen my movie The Hole in the Ground. I don't know if anyone else here has seen it. Oh, thank you, 5 people. But like The Hole in the Ground is like a little creepy whisper at the back of your neck, whereas Evil Dead Rise is just like take down your pants, covered in blood, shake it in someone's face. It's a very different thing. So he didn't think I was an Evil Dead fan because of what I'd made, but I was a massive Evil Dead fan. And once he learned that, and he liked the precision of the movie that I had made, we just started to talk about what this beast could be.
So, in terms of being an Evil Dead fan, what was your gateway?
My father, who's 81 years old, let's give him a cheer, Desi, and he was at the European premiere in Dublin last week. Like a tiny little peanut in a suit having a great time. He fucking loved it.
And people.
Yeah, no, and so he showed them to me when I was about 8 or 9 years old. He showed me the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 back to back on VHS.
Right. Okay, that's proper parenting.
Thank you. But again, I probably wouldn't be here now without that.
There you go.
And I didn't know quite what I was watching, but I knew it was something important and something special. Sorry, I'm holding this can. I'm dying. I'm thirsty. He showed them to me because I grew up in a house where we had multiple horror fans. My sister, my brothers. I saw stuff I shouldn't have seen at a very impressionable age. So it was kind of okay to watch those movies. And then I brought him back to see Evil Dead 2013 in 2013,
right,
which was great. We had an absolute ball, and it was a real treat then to bring him back to watch this movie last week.
Amazing. Because when you take on an Evil Dead movie, you have Sam Raimi. You're working with Sam Raimi, but you have the specter of Sam Raimi as a director, and it's interesting how much you don't ape his style. Obviously, there are moments. The opening shot is very much in that Raimi tradition, but otherwise you plow your own furrow, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's like, I'm going to use food analogies again, cooking dinner. I think I'm hungry because I had dinner. But like, Sam is on my Mount Rushmore in terms of the filmmakers that I look to. Sam Raimi, Peter Jackson, Stanley Kubrick. I hold the fourth one loosely and decide who I put up there from time to time. But Sam is somebody that I guess would have got under my skin when I was younger. So I think there is an energy that comes from my influence, but as you grow and develop as a filmmaker, you also have your own voice in terms of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's this spirit of what those guys did when they were essentially nobodies and were raising finance from local rich people to make the first movie, which inspired me because I'm just a dude from outside Dublin that had a camcorder, had a drum kit, sold my drum kit, bought a camcorder, tried to do special effects in my back garden.
Bloody hell. Did you nail the camera to a plank?
I did, and I was not successful in my endeavors.
Right. Does anyone have any questions for Lee at all? Oh yes, please, right away here in the second room. We've got roving microphones, so everyone will be able to...
I wish they came down from the ceiling. It'd be more dramatic.
It's on.
Hello.
There you go. There you
go. How do you, as an Evil Dead fan, stop yourself from just going, these are the Evil Dead bits, like the eye popping out and being swallowed, great homage, but where do you draw the line between homage and just accidentally making a montage of all of the best bits?
Really at the start, and thank you for the question, which was that I went after the characters, the circumstances and the metaphor before I even thought about it as a horror movie. That was the starting point. And once I found the kind of, the real breadth to those characters and, as I said, the circumstance where they live, how they behave, what those simple little problems they have on their shoulders like people do every day, then I had the fun. But what I did is I thought about the things that I wanted to put into the movie, and then I kind of had a rummage around in the old toolbox and started to think about the Easter eggs and the things that I could bring back in. But I couldn't have told this story without finding the story first, because otherwise it would have just been a collection of fan service. And although this has lots for the fans, it also has a story in a new context, and that was really important to me.
One of the things you mentioned montage there. That's one of the things that's not in the movie. You don't really have that tooling up montage.
There's a very slow burn one when she
switches
the vinyl going on.
Yeah.
That was the exact, because it was like, do we need to have the click clonk bang kind of version? But it's been brilliantly done, so I couldn't do the same thing again.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Lee? Yes, please. There's a gentleman here in the 5th or 6th row. Keep your hand up, please, sir. Thank you. And then we'll come to this person here.
Hello. Yeah. Love the film.
Thank you.
Bounce off of that question. Homages. The Shining, elevator scene. Homage?
I have no idea what you're talking about. What's The Shining? You look shiny. No, okay, the truth. The Shining's a massive movie for me, another one that I saw when I was very young, and sometimes when I'm writing I will make very obvious choices to tip the cap that direction. But the reality with this film was it started with a problem, and the problem was that I needed to get the characters from the top floor to the bottom floor very quickly, because the elevator is screwed up, so it's not like they can go ding, ding, ding down every floor. And I was like, I need them to drop fast, but if they drop fast, they're going to die. So I was like, oh, I should fill it with blood and it will cushion the fall. But after the fact, I went, it's a little bit like The Shining, and then I felt really good about that, you know, because I love that movie, you know. So, like, but again, it's an interesting thing, like, as I go on the journey of promoting this movie, people ask a lot of questions about influence and why you do what you do and why you do it the way that you do. And you can't escape your influences. I put it back to like music sometimes, and it's like the music you listen to when you're a kid. If you start a band, you're going to feel those influences come through, and I think it's the same with movies. And The Shining made an enormous impression on me at a very young age. There's a few things that people pick up on, but when I was watching it tonight, I'd forgotten about it. But if you look at the pattern on the front door of the apartment, it's like one of the carpets in The Shining, and I'd forgotten we made that choice. So there's deeper Easter eggs there, but the blood elevator was out of necessity for plot. And then when I recognized that it was, you know, connected to The Shining, you know, I smiled and then took a nap.
Thank you. Did you consult any experts in terms of if you were to fill an elevator filled with blood, would it cushion someone's fall if they fell 14 stories?
No, because I didn't want to have to get the answer of no. Because then I would have had to be like, yeah, no, and then marshmallows start to come out of the buttons, which would have been a whole different problem. But we did, like, the blood elevator was insane in terms of how to make it. Like, it's quite a simple scene in some respects, but how you put two actors into a small box with a cameraman, fill it with blood, and get your shots is not easy. So there was about 4 versions of the elevator set to achieve that. And the shot, I'm all about the secrets now because of the vodka. So the shot where, you know, it goes up the corridor and the Deadites are shouting, no way out, no way out. That was a way of not showing the middle of the journey of the blood elevator. Because I had enough blood to fill the bottom and the top, but not the middle. So we built a little glass box behind the window that could go, let's use like 2 liters of blood that rise up in front of Cassie. And that's the thing, this is like a movie that's, you know, getting released globally, but I still had to use a bunch of independent techniques to actually succeed in presenting that madness.
Amazing. What was the most difficult scene then for you to shoot?
No one will know the name of this, but again, I'll share it right now, which is The Marauder, which is the weirdest family hug of all time. That was incredibly difficult to shoot because in basic anatomical terms, you cannot put actors through other actors. It's quite difficult.
You can try.
There's probably some out there that if you pay them enough, they will let you, but they didn't have the acting chops to the caliber that I needed for this movie. But no, that was really challenging. We had to use every trick in the book, from, I don't even know where to start, puppetry. Like the first shot where you see the Marauder coming out of the smoke, that's a fully puppeteered device with no humans in there. But then there's other versions, there's different versions of suits that people had to wear. We had to use motion control so we could do multiple passes on different actors so we could connect them together digitally. That just shooting the monster, which is, you know, it's aggressive and it's, you know, it shows its presence, but its total screen time is probably under a minute in terms of what you see.
Right, yeah.
But it probably took us about a week just to do those parts, maybe longer, maybe 10 days of shooting.
That's one of those things where you're cursing yourself when you're on set. Go, why did I write this?
Yeah, I regretted it. It was like they should have just fallen out of the blood elevator and walked. Oh, the gate opened up and they walked out. Again, we wouldn't be here if that had happened.
Very good point. Any other questions for Lee? Yes, please. Right here in about the 6th or 7th row. Yeah, thank you. Yes, you, sir.
I really enjoy the film. There's lots of wonderful moments of splatter in the film. Were there any bits of gore that you couldn't get in, that you wanted to get in, or that they wouldn't let you get in, or you thought, no, that's too far, I'm not going to do that?
I think once you start killing children, nothing is too far. Which is part of my job apparently now. I don't know if it's a niche job, but it's what I do.
It's not your passport, child care is not your passport.
I wish I could answer this in that way that serves fans where they want to know that there's more there, but actually I managed to tell the story I wanted to tell and to kind of get everything in. And I've done some interviews obviously in the US, and there's a bit of confusion how this movie's not NC-17 and how we got an R rating without having to make any cuts. I don't have the answer to that. Weirdly, it's more character-based stuff that we had to leave on the floor, because I knew I overshot what I needed with the family, because I wanted to have enough to craft these believable characters that you could have some sense of identity with before I flipped it all and kind of ripped that world apart. But in horror terms, there's versions of scenes I would have maybe liked to have got a little bit more from or done a little bit differently, but we left probably 1% on the floor in terms of the violence. And thankfully, you know, with Rob, Sam and Bruce, who are sick, twisted bastards, they supported my vision. You know, New Line Cinema, they have a history of putting out really hardcore horror movies, you know, The House That Freddy Built, so I had a lot of support in terms of that, and weirdly wasn't second guessed about what we were doing, which upon reflection now seems weird because, again, I killed children.
There's a scalping and a decapitation in the first.
Yeah, but, you know, they're gentle, like, you know, she was a grown-up.
It's a love tap. Yes, please. Oh, there's a gentleman over here, I think, in an orange. Right at the back. Right at the back. Yes, he's waving. Very enthusiastic.
That's where we had a screening earlier on it. You're sitting in the seat that a girl in a stripy shirt sat in. She forgot her question, then lost her mind, then lost her mind more, so no pressure.
And then we lost our minds as a result as well.
Did you always know this film was going to be set within a family in a high-rise apartment complex, or did you have any scrapped ideas, like a cabin in the woods?
I think I've seen that before. A cabin in the woods thing. I told the story earlier on about meeting Sam for the first time, and I had to leave that meeting and fly back to Dublin, like straight out of the meeting. And I started to think about it. I'm drawn to stories about family, about the horror of the domestic, because it's a beautiful shortcut to connect with an audience, because whatever way our lives have gone, we all have some sort of sense of home or family. And they're the sort of stories that I like to tell, because I'm influenced when I was younger again by movies like that. Not only things like The Shining, but like Poltergeist or even E.T., you know, in terms of families in peril. Obviously this movie is a very different temperature to E.T. The scariest moment of that is when he looks like a 1980s white dog poo. Do you remember those dog poos? Before they put preservatives in the food. But yeah, so it's a very, very different buzz to that, but I'm always drawn back to that. I've been freaking out a little bit recently because I'm wondering, can I tell a story outside of families in peril? And I don't know if the answer is yes. Maybe that's the thing that I'm drawn to most.
I think in my introduction I called this a sequel to the previous 4 movies. Is that how you see it?
A new adventure. That's how I see it. No, I was trying to just crack open the franchise in a different way. Timeline-wise, it just follows after what's happened before. Like, as shonky as the Evil Dead rules are, as all the fans will know, like, you know, it doesn't all quite join up, but there is a timeline, which is the first one, the second one, the third one. Well, the third one goes back in time. So the first one, the second one, hang on. The third one, the first one, if we're going to put it in linear order, the third one, the first